What is going on, YouTube? Lamont at large coming to you from Mountain View Cemetery here in San Bernardino, California. Today, we are here to visit the grave of rock and roll legend and guitarist Randy Rhoads. Normally, I don't like doing videos that many people do, but I felt compelled to come out here because I've received several emails and just the tragic way in which he died, I wanted to talk about. So let's talk about Randy Rhoads. He was born December 6th, 1956 in Burbank, California. It's about an hour or so away from San Bernardino if there's no traffic, and being in Southern California, there's often always traffic. Both his parents were music teachers, so of course he grew up in a musical household. He picked up the guitar at a very young age and, ran with it. His mother founded a school where Randy Rhoads went to for guitar lessons. And one day, Randy's teacher comes into the office and is talking to Randy's mom, and he says, "Hey, I can no longer teach your son." And she says, "Why?" And he says, "Because he's better than me now. He knows more about the guitar than I do. I feel stupid teaching somebody that could be teaching me." So from that point forward, Randy Rhoads became the new guitar teacher at Muzonia School there. And as he got older, he started playing in garage bands with his friends. And he formed a band with a couple of members called Little Ladies, which later went on to become Quiet Riot, a huge band in its own right. However, in 1979, he quit the band. He got tired of the infighting. He got tired of the boozing and the drugging. Randy Rhoads was not a booze hound. I don't even think he drank hardly at all. He didn't do drugs. The only thing he would do, however, is smoke cigarettes, and he smoked the hell out of some cigarettes. One of his friends said in an interview that if the lung cancer had the Olympics, he would win the gold medal in it. So 1979, he quits Quiet Riot, and just by happenstance that year as well, Black Sabbath fired their lead singer, Ozzy Osbourne. Well, because Ozzy Osbourne was a drunk and a druggie, and they got tired of his shenanigans. So Ozzy Osbourne had to quickly reinvent himself as a solo artist. So he puts out, an ad saying that he's auditioning a guitarist and a bassist and, members for his new band. So he goes to an audition only after constantly being bothered by his friend Dana Strum, who later became the bassist for Slaughter. So Dana's telling Randy, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and just audition?" And Randy didn't really want to because he wasn't a fan of Ozzy Osbourne, nor was he a fan of Black Sabbath. He really didn't care for their music. And after constantly being badgered with just, "Hey, man, just do it, just do it." So he finally shows up to an audition. He plugs in his guitar to his practice amp, and he starts warming up. Do, 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 do. And the audition has not even started yet when Dana comes running out of the control room, and he says, "Dude, you got the job, you're hired." And Randy's like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Dude, Ozzy loves you." Ozzy would have came out to tell him himself that he got the job, except that he was so drunk he couldn't even get off the chair. So Ozzy Osbourne had a new guitarist, Randy Rhoads. And even in interviews online, Ozzy wouldn't be who he was without Randy Rhoads there with him. He almost, in a sense, kind of gave him new life. However, Randy Rhoads didn't really feel the same way towards Ozzy Osbourne because, of course, new band, same old habits. He was still a drunk. He was still a druggie. And Randy would tell his friends, "Hey, when my contract is up, I'm out of this band. I'm just tired of him with the boozing and the drugs or what have you." So let's talk about the sad end of Randy's life. The last show that Randy played was at the Knoxville Civic Coliseum on March 18th, 1982. The next day, the band had a went to Florida because they had a concert in Orlando, and the air conditioning on the tour bus was not working. So they took the bus to get it repaired at an RV slash tour bus dealership that was owned by a man by the name of Jerry Calhoun. And Jerry invited the band to come stay on his property afterwards. He had a huge estate, the Flying Baron Estates. They called it the Flying Baron Estates because there was an airport on there. So this was a huge property. And so the tour bus driver, a man by the name of Andrew Acott, who also happened to have a pilot's license, was roaming around the property on the morning of March 19th, 1982, and noticed a plane in a hangar. It was a 1955 Beechcraft single-engine F-35, and he says, let me take this up for a spin. So he gets a couple of the guys. He gets Jake Duncan, who was a tour manager at the time, and Don Airey, who was the keyboardist for Ozzy Osbourne. So he says, hey, let's take this plane up for a spin. So they flying around, and Andrew decides as a joke to buzz the tour bus to wake up Ozzy Osbourne and the drummer, Tommy Aldridge. So he buzzes it real quick, like buzzing, which is flying very close. He goes up in the air and then he lands the plane. While on the ground, Randy Rhoads is watching him do this, along with the makeup artist, a woman by the name of Rachel Youngblood. So Andrew offers to take up the next, whoever wants to come up next. Randy Rhoads was very well known that he did not like flying. He was almost afraid of flying. And Rachel had a heart condition. So Randy tells Andrew, he says, listen, I'll come up there because I want to take some aerial photos, but don't be flying like that because Rachel has a bad heart and I don't like flying. And he promised that he wouldn't do that. So he takes up Randy and Rachel, and he does it again. The second time, he buzzes the bus, trying to, I guess, wake up Tommy and Ozzy. Now, on the ground were a couple witnesses. One of them was Don Airey, the keyboardist, and he was taking photos of the plane as it was flying around, and he had a telescopic lens on his camera, so he got really close to the plane. And according to the NTSB investigation, Don, when he was looking at the plane flying through his camera lens, he noticed that there was a struggle at the in the cockpit between Randy Rhoads and Andrew Acott after the second time the plane buzzed the bus. And he notices them fighting, and finally the plane gets so close to him because he's standing by the bus, like he runs to get out of the way and kind of duck while the plane buzzes the bus. But this time it got so close, too close, that the plane's wing clipped the bus, sheared right off like a piece of paper. The plane starts flying, shearing off trees, and crashes right into a garage, into a huge ball of flame and smoke, killing everybody on board instantly. The explosion was so loud, Ozzy Osbourne comes out with Tommy and Sharon, Ozzy's wife, and they're beside themselves, and somebody starts screaming, they're all dead, they're all dead. Tommy grabs a fire extinguisher in some vain attempt to put out the fire, but it's to no use. Sharon gets to the scene, and all she remembers seeing is burnt body parts everywhere. Randy and Rachel were both ejected from the plane through the front windshield. Everybody died instantly. They were burned beyond recognition. Randy was so burnt up, they couldn't even identify him. They had to identify him through the jewelry that he was wearing and dental records. A true tragedy, to say the least. And what makes the tragedy even worse was that, and I'm not blaming anything on Sharon Osbourne, but you would think that if Sharon Osbourne had known or had told the other people aboard the plane about the past of Andrew Acott, maybe they wouldn't have gone in the plane, because 6 years previous, before that accident, he was flying a helicopter, and one of Jerry Calhoun's kids was involved in a helicopter crash that he was piloting, and they died. So you would think that if Sharon could have possibly told him, "Hey, don't go up with him," but I guess she was sleeping or she wasn't aware. That story's a little bit murky. And one of rock and roll's greatest guitarists just died in such a tragic fashion, something that should have never ever happened at all. So right now, when you come into Mountain View Cemetery to visit Randy Rhoads, one of the first crypts that you'll see on your left is his crypt, and this is it right here. He died March 19th, 1982 at the age of 25, and this is it. And it is ascribed an inspiration for all young people. Above him is his mother, Dolores Kell Rhoads, a life dedicated to music. I don't know where his father is buried. I'm assuming there was some kind of divorce, so it's just them two right now. A very, very sad and tragic story, to say the least. One of rock and roll's greatest tragedies. I know there's been other tragic events as well. All right, guys. Rest in peace to Randy Rhoads and his mother, Dolores. I'll catch up with you on the next vlog. Peace out.